featured them yesterday with Jonas Pope IV, who covers the Wolfpack, ranked in the top 25 after the win against Clemson. Fresno State, Robert Kuwada joins us from the Fresno Bee. And I've always liked Fresno State. Robert, that's where Pat Hill was, right?
That's the place.
Yeah, he was. I mean, that was a team that people put on their non-conference schedule that sometimes they would regret. So I've always liked them. I've always thought they're pretty good. Tell us a little bit about the momentum they have right now, and they're getting top 25 and all that stuff that goes with it.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's been a lot of fun so far to watch these guys go out and compete every Saturday. I think schedule set up well. Early on they got a chance to stick their toe and get an easy win, and go up to Oregon where they played really well. I think they thought that was a winnable game for them, which is a pretty big step for a program that hadn't always had success against Power 5 teams, and they came back 2 weeks later and actually did win down at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. So, they're riding a pretty good wave right now.
What does that UCLA win mean for them when it comes to recruiting and just different things down the line in the future?
Oh, it's big for the program, no doubt. I mean, people around town will tell you, well, we've beaten UCLA 4 times in a row, so what's the big deal? But it really is a big deal for a school like Fresno State. I mean, it's one of those deals where, UCLA would never go to Fresno to play a game. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen down there. And I think Fresno State's program, the city, they all really enjoy going down there and winning a football game.
How much of a difference have you seen? We've noticed a large difference here in Waco with Baylor from last year to this year, all the things that teams had to deal with last season. Do you feel that sense of only playing 6 games last year, now having the full meal deal? Can you feel that difference with the program?
Oh, no doubt. And I think people really are unaware about how hard COVID had hit this program last year. That they were picked to finish 4th in their division in the Mountain West, and I think the season win total in Vegas was like 6, which was pretty ridiculously low, I thought. They had so many problems. They ended the year with maybe got 60 guys who could go out there and play, a little bit more than that, and they didn't have a spring practice last year. They didn't have any summer conditioning. They got a call one day and were in fall camp the very next, and went out there and tried to play football. And they went to Utah State. They were fine until then, COVID-wise, and then it hit them, and it hit them hard, and it was hard to get through that year. And then you come back, they do have a spring, they do have a summer. They got really good strength and conditioning program that they got a chance to go through and learn new systems. Last year was the first year with Kalen DeBoer back and a new defense, and they were just, learning as they went last year, and now they have a little base under them, little foundation, and it's showing.
Yeah, Fresno State's had some downtimes, but they've beaten Pac-12 teams. They've beaten, as I mentioned earlier, whatever you want to call FBS teams as well. But UCLA almost took Oregon down. Down the road, they have what? Boise State is getting a lot of attention for who they are. That's obviously a conference game. But is there any chip on their shoulder? Right now there seems to be. We had a running back, Sincere McCormick from UT San Antonio, and he admitted. He said, yeah, it's a chip on our shoulder when all this realignment talk and a lot of teams are being left out. Is that even on the radar there?
No, not so much the realignment, but the chip on the shoulder, absolutely. It's something, you mentioned Pat Hill, it goes back even farther than that, to Jim Sweeney years back in we're talking decades and decades ago. It's what Fresno State football and basketball, as the whole athletics program has been built on. They're stuck in the middle of California between USC and UCLA down south, and Cal and Stanford to the north, and they've always had that type of mentality. So, it's something that is in play every week.
What's the biggest difference Kalen DeBoer's made in that year or so as a head coach?
Like I said, I think they just had a chance to implement their systems and get things going and get guys into, nutrition programs, strength and conditioning programs. that's made a huge difference. He's been the driver behind that, obviously, and he was familiar with the program coming back. You know, he was the offensive coordinator here in 2017 and 18 under Jeff Tedford. Went to Indiana for a year and then came back. And, you know, he knows the landscape. He knows how to navigate the university administration, the athletics administration. He's a very sharp guy. So he knows exactly what he's doing here, how to get things done. And that's, it's not always easy at a place, at a group of five type place.
Go ahead, Craig. You get those late games, don't you? You get it's not quite Pac-12 after dark, but I guess in some cases it is. What time? And I know it's relative because if you're on the West Coast, whatever is 6 o'clock there, 8 o'clock here, games end at midnight here or whatever. But what's the latest on a home game that you've ever gotten back to where you live in the morning, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, geez. No, last week they started at probably around 7:45 our time, so 9:45 your time. I mean, they're going to Hawaii this week, and the game's going to start, 8 o'clock Pacific time, so 10 o'clock for you. The late starts. I was actually surprised after that UCLA game. I thought it might take a week before people started voting for him in the top 25, just because the game ended, 11:30 here in California, and I wasn't expecting that many people to stay up and watch them, to be honest. So, it's something. It's just part of the deal out here. TV is going to tell you when to play, and you go out and play when there's a spot.
Well, there are some teams that do get some attention, Craig.
So, Robert, Jake Haener's quarterback Jake Haener's had an interesting journey to get to be in this spot to where he's really thriving right now. I mean, only 50 incompletions on the year. He's 136 of 186, which is pretty ridiculous, and nearly 2,000 yards already. Just a couple of turnovers compared to 15 touchdowns. How interesting has it been to watch his journey, and what have you seen from him as a vital part of the success the Bulldogs are having?
Yeah, he is obviously huge to their success, and he's just, again, going back to last year, he transferred here in 2019 from Washington and sat out, kind of ran the scout team, and then, Tedford, who came here to play for, retires due to health concerns, and, he's kind of not adrift, but obviously not in the spot he thought he would be. Then COVID hits, and he gets no spring ball after that, and then no summer, and if you look at what they did last year, the first game was a little rough, and then they just flipped a switch, and ever since then, it's been mind-boggling what they've been able to get done. So, he's, like I said, 3,800 yards plus at this point. And, if you look at his 11 games that he's played here, he'd be in the top 4 all time at the school in terms of passing yards if you put those 11 games over one season. And they've obviously had some really good quarterbacks here, from David Carr to Derek Carr to Trent Dilfer, and quite a few others. So it's been impressive.
Robert, I know you got to go catch basketball practice. Thanks for your time. We appreciate your time today talking Fresno State.
Sure, anytime.
Yes, sir. Robert Kuwada, the Fresno Bee. They're a good football team. They have the one loss to Oregon, and that was 31-24. Beat UCLA when everyone was starting to jump on that UCLA bandwagon, which is dangerous. And they still have Boise State a little bit down the road.
Yeah, no, they're a team that can score. They're a team that's been solid now for a little while, and, yeah, they're dangerous out. Very, very nearly could have won that Oregon game. If they're